Hi and welcome back to Garden Ninja. Now today's video is all about borrowed views. Now I've got a section in the garden which has been masked off by this huge hedge for many years. Now I know there's a view behind it, but I thought it would be a good idea to demonstrate how you can take a borrowed view of another landscape or a vista and bring it into your garden. Now it's going to be a lot of work and hopefully the transformation is going to be incredible. First things first, I need to remove sections of this hedge to then start to take in that borrowed view, which is going to involve a chainsaw and some very careful work from me, full of safety gear, to get part of this hedge down. Now I've checked that all the birds have finished nesting and I've got plenty more hedging for them to go and rehabitat in if they need be. So don't worry about the environmental impacts, there's loads of other plants going in to help wildlife. But come on, let's get cracking. Just finished taking down the hedge. It's taken about a day. It's been a right nightmare, but all the materials are going to be recycled. I'm going to use the wood for firewood, and I've left all the vegetation on the top of the exploded nesting garden to allow any wildlife to escape and go and rehabitat in other parts of the hedges. But now it's time to fit the big design feature, which is a moon gate. So I'm going to be using a moon gate, which you'll often see in traditional Chinese garden design. And a moon gate is a circular structure that is going to pull your view through that moon gate and out into the borrowed view. So it's taking the big vista behind me, pulling it into the smaller garden, giving that illusion of depth in space, but without getting completely lost in the vista. So I hope that makes sense. And as you see me put up the moon gate and start to plant up, you'll see how it all comes together. So I need to get a wiggle on because I've got plenty to do. Now there was a shed here before and a load of overgreen shrubbery, and as I've cleared it all out, I've discovered this fence here, but it's in a bit of a worse for wear state, so I need to replace it. I've had a look around and usually I prefer to fix things and maintain them, but in this instance it looks about 20 years old and I think it'll be better off replacing it. So I've got two new fence panels. I'm going to pop some posts in, fix the fence panels to it, and that'll give me a really clean foil or backdrop for the rest of the planting. Now I don't want the fence to stand out, I want it to blend in, so that's the whole purpose of this garden, is that your eye is drawn through that moon gate and around the surrounding planting. So the fence panels are now in and they look much better than the old ones. But like I said before, I've chosen these purely for function. I could have gone for more aesthetic decorative fence panels, but what I don't want to do is to take your attention away from the moon gate and the planting onto the fence panel. So this is purely functional. And when you're designing a garden, you're always having to balance function versus aesthetic. If you're going to choose something that's aesthetically beautiful, it's probably going to be a focal point that draws your eye. You can't have your eye drawn to everything, so you have to make the balance between function and beauty. And in this case, the planting and the moon gate are the beauty, and unfortunately this fence panel is just functional. So I've assembled the moon gate and it's ready here, and I've concreted in the post that it's going to get secured to. But I can't lift this one on my own, I'm going to have to ask for some help, if someone else help me pivot it up and then screw it into those posts. Now I've got some really exciting specimens behind me, and all of these are going to be planted up around the moon gate. So it's a relatively formal structure. We've got the rectangular bed, we've got the hedge that I've renovated, the fence panel, and then the circular form of the moon gate. And what I want to do is to use a lot of soft herbaceous planting amongst some evergreen shrubs to give it a really light touch. I'm going to be using evergreen shrubs such as viburnum and spirea, and I call these car park shrubs. and people often overlook them because they think, oh, it's just a viburnum. But I'm going to show you how you can use them to maximum effect, and you probably won't even recognise them when I'm done. But the purpose of this is to make an area that feels really calm, textured and relaxing, and I need those evergreen shrubs to give it the weight to support that heavy structure of the moongate. And I don't mean support the weight physically, I mean to balance it. So without the evergreen structure, if I'm just going for all these soft herbaceous plants such as the carex, geraniums, the heleniums and rudbeckia, it'll feel a little bit too light. I need something meaty to flank that moongate, to kind of pull it into the garden so it's got a real purpose. But all will become clear as I start to plant up next. So now it's the really fun part, which is to take all of the plants from the design and start to lay them out. If you've watched my other videos, you know that I always lay them out first, take a step back, have a look, see how they work. Because whilst you may plan it out on paper and it looks brilliant, the real key is seeing how it looks in real life. So I always lay them out, stand back, maybe have a cup of coffee, make some adjustments before I commit them to the ground. But this is a fun bit, so come on, let's lay them out. So here we have it, the finished moongate. I took down that really overgrown hedge and I've transformed this area into a real focal point. I've used a palette of really soft herbaceous perennials that will give interest throughout the year, and I've punctuated it with some evergreen shrubs to give structure throughout the winter months. At the base of the moongate we've got things like viburnum and spirea that over time will mould their way around the joins and make it look as if the moongate is sitting within the plants. So have a look down here. Now this is cedar matting, and you usually find this on green roofs. But I'm using it here because the gate next to this fence opens out and swings across a part of this border. If I plant up things like ferns and geraniums and herbaceous stuff, they're just going to get battered. So it's a really good idea to work out what's going to happen around the space. So I know this is going to be a heavy traffic area with the gate opening and closing throughout the week, and cedar's perfect because it's not going to grow very tall, but it will mat out and cover this area. And because it's a succulent and you've also got these tiny flowers, it's great for wildlife through spring, summer and winter. It's a really good choice for an area such as this. So what I've done is chosen a mix of herbaceous perennials with different flowering windows, and what I mean by that is that they will flower at different times throughout the year. And it's a really good trick if you're new to gardening because it extends the season of interest and means that your garden has something to look at every month throughout the summer, hopefully through to the winter as well. So we've got things like the Verbena bonariensis with the purple flowers that will give like a haze throughout summer, really tall. You've got Luzula, which is a forest grass that will give you that spring early interest. We've got the sedum that gives year-round interest with the evergreen matting. We've got things like spirea, we've got shield ferns in the shadier areas. We've also got heleniums that I grew without plastic earlier this year for the Exploding Atom Garden. Cape fuchsia, we've got a Nephophia there which will give a yellow spike in the middle of summer. We've got a whole mix of things, and if you want to know more about them, check on my blog because I'll have all the detail of all these plants and the aspects that they're good for. Now it may seem vicious what I've done with this hedge, and I've taken it back really hard, and if you want to know how to do that, I've got a guide, the ultimate guide on how to trim hedges, and I'll show you how to do that carefully. But already you can start to see some of the new growth bursting through, and I only cut that back about 2 weeks ago. What will happen over time is that the hawthorn and the privet hedge that I've renovated will start to bush out again, and it will act as both a screen and also like a low wall against the moongate, which will then draw your eye even further through the moongate shape. So what I'm doing with the moongate is drawing your view, and whilst without it you'd still have a beautiful backdrop, it could feel overwhelming. So the moon gate is helping to focus that view and give you a purpose. And that's a really key garden design feature. Now you could use any structure to pull your view in, but this is a really nice example because it frames that view. And I've also mirrored that shape of the moon gate in some of the planting with the daisy-like flowers and the circular shape of them. And it's all about slowing down the interest. So you've got the view and the focus here, and then all the planting will slow you down. If you just have the view without any of this, it's a bit of a one-shot, one-hit wonder. Bang! There it is. Now another top tip I'm going to give you now is about giving yourself sneak peeks in your garden. And if your garden transitions from one area to the next, why not give a sneak peek? So here behind me, I've removed part of the hedge that separated the other lawn from this part of the garden. So when you're coming from the house, you get a sneak peek of the garden here in the moon gate, and when you're at the moon gate, you get a sneak peek of the other areas of the garden. And it's a really clever way of inviting someone to start a journey throughout the garden. If I'd have left the hedges here, whilst this would have looked beautiful, I wouldn't get the benefit of the sneak peek from the garden over there, or from here into the rest of the garden. So think about your journeys and your viewpoints throughout your garden and how you can give sneak peeks to other areas. Now I'm not saying that everyone's going to have an amazing vista that you can borrow, such as this one here. What I am showing you is that even in a small garden, whether you've got a borrowed view or just a focal point, you can really make sure your garden packs a punch. Even in a small space, by using extended seasons of interest with your planting, a focal point, and making sure that you repeat the style or the pattern or the shape, you can make a small garden feel really immersive, full of detail, vibrant and exciting to be in. If you've liked this video, why not subscribe to my YouTube channel, where there are loads more garden design hints, tips and hacks. Whether you've got a tiny postage stamp garden or a couple of acres, I've got top tips how to make the most out of your garden. I've been Garden Ninja. Happy gardening.